People talk about the craziness of the world. The world's gone nuts. Huh? America's completely out of whack. And it's scary. It's sad. It's the operative word is it's really, really sad. And you know what's sad about it? All of the equivocation, all of the subjectivity, all of the anybody can do whatever, anybody, everything they want, and you have to love them and accept them. That whole philosophy. It's not based on permissiveness. It's not based on a desire to rebel against God, like in Mitzrayim, like it says in the Pasha Zacharei, or in Canaan. It's based on kindness. Right? America's liberalism is because you don't want one person to suffer. And one person has a certain mental illness. As a result of mental illness, he has a deviation in his thinking and in his feeling and therefore in his actions. And we want him to be comfortable. So you have to break all the rules of the data that this one person should be comfortable. That's the root of it. The root of the loss of a moral center, common sense, middle of the road, derech hamitzvah, which is derech emes, is of kindness. Because American people, and the nation of America is a kind country. I want you to know. This is me talking, so you're going to get my version of the world. In the Farbrengen Mishpatim, which I mentioned before, the Rebbe talked about America and Russia again and again and again. In the Farbreng live, which I was present, every time the Rebbe mentioned America, the Rebbe said Chasidei U'Mesalim, righteous goyim. When the Sikha came out Mugad, the Rebbe changed it to Malchus Shel Chesed, the nation of kindness. But the Rebbe said, Chasidei U'Mesalim, righteous goyim, Chasidei U'Mesalim. So people say, how could the Rebbe say it? Look what's going on. What's happening in our country is people are so desperate to be righteous. And they don't have a God, unfortunately. They threw God in the garbage. They don't have a Bible, unfortunately. They think, anybody can write a Bible. I mean, one of the lessons of the beginning of the 21st century is it's not so easy to write a Bible. Maybe you don't like every word of it. Not everything about it you agree with. But it's not easy to write a Torah, to give rules to all of mankind for all times and all places that are constant and that are binding and that keep us in the space of humanity. We're living in a civilization where in the name of kindness and in the lack of a connection to ayin reya ve'ezen shemas v'chol ba'asecha b'sefer nechtavim, eye that sees and an ear that hears, and everything you do is recorded in a book. And this is what everybody say to goyim: Ata osid li tein din v'cheshbon. You will one day have to give a reckoning for your actions. So when you have a lack of that presence, and you want to be a good person, there's no limit. It's like, please, everything's open. So we've lost our moral compass completely in the desire to be kind. It's uniquely American. It's very sad. And what's the solution? The world is falling to pieces. Teach. A good argument could be made that what's going on in America is pushing a vacuum. It's not a new energy. It's not a new force. It's a lack of an energy. Teach. The Rebbe spoke by the Shav Mrs. Bnei. And I am not a shliach, and I don't have any authority. Far be it from me. There certainly was in the Rebbe's teaching pulling back on that campaign for whatever reasons. So I don't know how this should be done practically and actionably, but the Rebbe gave us a mitzvah. He quoted the Rambam says that it's a chiyuv, it's an obligation. And a Yid once gave me a whole speech about arvus. You're not mechuyev, not arvus of a goyim. If you look at that tzicha, I'm not so sure you could say that you have no chiyuv to find a goy and teach him because of no arvus. The Rebbe said it's a chiyuv gomo to teach goy b'shav mitzvah nenech. Teach them about God. Teach them the idea that kindness doesn't mean anybody can do anything. Like the famous mashal that the Rebbe would often bring about a man sitting on a boat and he's drilling a hole under his seat. And when you tell him you're going to drown the soul, he says, it's my seat, I paid for it, on my seat, I can do what I wish. We're all connected. And although you have to worry about the individual very much, But you need to appreciate that the individual is part of a community. And when you approach the rights of the individual in a kind of way that it hurts the civilization at such a deep and a basic level, it's wrong. So how do you continue being kind and appreciate the fact that not every individual can express every belief and every feeling and every deviancy? It's tricky, but there's a balance. And the balance is, there's the Yochid and there's the Rabbim. You should know, if you study the Rebbe Sichas, one of the differences between the mitzvahs that the Eibishter gave Yidden and the mitzvahs that gave humanity, all of humankind, is the mitzvahs that the Eibishter gave Yidden are measured by individual Jews, you and your relationship with God. The mitzvahs that the Eibishter gave to all of humanity are defined by the society. Your actions are determined not by what they are as an individual, how they reflect on the civilization. And if you appreciate how the acts of one affected the civilization and the act of another affected the civilization, you appreciate that as kind as you want to be, there is a center, there is a middle. And it's our job to teach. And I want to say one thing about Sheva Mitzvah. This is a personal opinion. That's all it is, a personal opinion. If you look at the Sheva Mitzvah Neneach, they're rules. They're not a way of life. Moreover, they're rules everybody knows anyway. So exactly what are you teaching? I don't know this for a fact, but I feel that part of the reason that Rebbe was not happy with how Sheva Mitzvah was being taught is because we're teaching Sheva Mitzvah as rules. You can't teach Sheva Mitzvah as rules. You have to teach Sheva Mitzvah as a way of life, as a lifestyle. And I'll tell you what that lifestyle is. That lifestyle comes down to a very simple principle. This is just me speaking here. Im kesef talves ami es ani imoch ani yercha kaidme. The Eibishter gave a Torah to all of mankind. At the base of that Torah is chesed, is kindness, with a simple rule. The first person you need to be kind to is the person closest to you. That means your spouse. The second person you need to be kind to is the person second closest to you, which means your children. The third person you need to be kind to is the fourth closest person to you, which means your parents. The fourth person you need to be kind to is your siblings, and you radiate outward. Now, why do you think that is? Why did the Eibishter say that charity begins at home? It sounds so selfish. It's much better to give charity to a stranger than to give charity to your wife, to your husband. You know what the answer to that question is? Because it's very easy to give charity to a stranger. Because when you give $1 to a stranger, you gave him $1. But if you're having a fight with your husband, you're having a fight with your wife, and Torah says be kind to the person closest to you, you're not giving them $1. You're giving a piece of your will, a piece of your soul, and it's giving you midas toives. It makes you a better person. The Sheva Mitzvahs Nenech are a way of life that don't only teach us kindness, they teach us kindness in the kind of way, like the Rambam says, the Lashon, that they give us midas toives, and they give us deyes nechenes. First of all, they improve our character because it's hard. The hardest person to be kind to is the person closest to you. It's a fact of life. The second hardest person to be kind to, the second person closest to you, and so on. And then, of course, from the midas tevis, from developing character, from being kind to someone you don't want to be kind to, because God said you have to be kind to your wife or to your husband, and to your children, and to your parents, and to your siblings, is deis. You start to think with your mind about values, to use a cliche, above your heart, with an openness and with a refinement that allows you to understand values that are not just about the pursuit of pleasure and the fulfillment of desires. It makes you a better person. That's the spirit of the Sheva Mitzvahs. It's the spirit of the Sheva Mitzvahs. And it's Mashiach's coming has to do with the world becoming better. And part of the world becoming better is us understanding and us teaching, explaining to people what a human being is, explaining to people what God means, explaining to human being what it means to be created in the image of God, explaining to human beings what the Rebbe spoke when he spoke about Sheva Mitzvahs, that you have to give an account to your Maker of the extent to which you preserved or you violated your image of God, your Tzelem Elokim. It's an obligation upon all of us. It's a realistic thing. It's complicated and dynamic. And if you think about it on a global level, it's overwhelming. I just want to say one thing, and I'm going to finish with this, okay? Adin Even Yisrael, all of Hashem, Zechenu Livracha. Adin Even Yisrael, right? I'm not going to say Steinsaltz. Wrote a book which is called My Rebbe. Adin Even Yisrael, as we know, was a very big chassid. But he was also a giant of a human being. He was a gadol. He was a giant of a human being. Literally. A gadol amiti. A giant of a human being. And he wrote a book called My Rebbe. The second chapter of his book is Mashiach. Not the last. Everybody talks about Mashiach. They put Mashiach at the end of the story, like the Rambam does. You talk about all the practical things, and you have one of the signs that the drasha is over, that you say, the Rebbe used to joke about that. The beginning of his book is about Mashiach. You know why? Because Adin Even Yisrael was so smart and had such a deep understanding of the Rebbe, and a deep understanding of the capacity of Echad Yila Elif, Ushnayim Yila Revava, that he saw the Rebbe's desire to change the world as practical. It's not kind of magic. You start with one and another and another and another, and it adds up. It accumulates. Like that famous story of this rabbi who came from South Africa to the Rebbe, and the Rebbe told him that he should do more rabbonis and more business. So he said to the Rebbe, I appreciate the fact that you think so highly of me, but I'm not capable of doing everything that you're telling me to do. And the Rebbe told him the following words: your mistake is you think of an act of kiruv like a chemical reaction. You take a chemical which is stable, take another element which is stable, and you put them together, and they react. And the reaction releases energy, whatever it is. It makes a change, and then it becomes stable again. It's not a chemical reaction, it's a nuclear reaction. It has ripples and ripples and ripples and ripples ad infinitum. And Adin Even Yisrael makes it very clear that he sees the Rebbe's vision of Mashiach as an actionable and a practical thing. It's one foot in front of the other. So the Eibishter Zalman help us. First of all, I'll say l'chaim again as I close this Fabring.